You're listening to 456.org's podcast with great ideas for your preteen ministry in 4, 5, or 6 minutes. Today's great idea, notice the fireflies. I am talking with Janine McNally. Janine McNally is the founder and director of Grace for Kids. How are you doing, Janine?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for asking. And that's Grace for, the number 4, kids with a Z at the end, not an S. .org, graceforkids.org. So tell us a little bit, Janine, about your organization, and then I want to talk about this latest project that you're working on because I think it's pretty awesome and has a lot of connections to preteen ministry.
Sure. Well, about a year ago, I stepped out of my full-time position as a kids director at our church and decided to launch into creating resources for children's ministry where I saw a need. So I started Grace for Kids. Actually, Grace for Kids with an S wasn't available, so I had to have a Z. But yeah, that's where it started. So I actually launched my website about February of 2022.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay. And so really just looking for a place to provide resources for children's ministries, and that would include preteen ministries as well, I'm assuming.
Absolutely, yeah. 4th and 5th graders for sure.
Yeah, okay. And so, Janine, you contacted me because you wrote a book and you wanted me to take a look at it, but I was so moved by the content of your book. I think it is fantastic, but it is a wake-up call for the church. So the title of the book, at least at this point, because you've sent it to the publisher, and I know they like to change things, but the title of the book is When You See Fireflies. So explain a little bit about that title. I guess you were telling me your daughter helped you come up with that title. So explain a little bit about that concept. What is that all about?
Sure. So we used to live in Pennsylvania in this, not so much suburbs, but we were backed onto about 3 acres. And our 2 kids at that time were 9 and 8 years old, and they would go out and play, and they would say, when do we have to come in? And I said, when you see the fireflies. No point telling them 7 o'clock you have to come in. They weren't wearing a watch. They didn't know. But when they saw those little bugs light up, they knew it was time to come in. And my daughter said, why don't you name your book that? Because do you know what? The world is getting darker. The light is getting dimmer. And we need to call our kids in from the world and get them to take notice of the fireflies flying around. So that's sort of where it came from.
It is such a good analogy to what has been happening, and probably even an acceleration you've probably noticed in the last few years with, just the world events and the effects of isolation and COVID and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And what was really great about your book, Janine, is I was captivated by the concept, but it wasn't just concept. Like behind that, then you went into, okay, here are the fireflies. Like, here are the signs that we need to call our kids in from the world. If you could sum up your message for the church right now, and specifically with our preteens, like what would you want to, if you could shake everybody's shoulders and look them in the eye, what would you want to tell them?
Oh my gosh, preteens, this is the age group that we've got to grab them at. That's, if you compare 2 brains, preteen and preschool, that's the only time in life when the brain looks the same, where they're both ready to grow and expand. And preteens are at that point where they talk about cognitive pruning, where they are deciding what to keep and what to discard from everything they know. And during those couple of years when their brain is getting ready to go into the teen years and then adulthood, they're deciding, is God worth it? Do I drop that information or do I keep it? And my book, honestly, my passion is for that age group the most, because they're the ones that are saying we're being irrelevant and we don't believe anymore, which to me is just tragic. And we are losing them out the doors of the church as fast as we can get them in. That was why I wrote this book, that the church needs to take notice that these Generation Alpha kids are so different from the previous generations.
Well, and I would say this. I think your book would be a good one for people to have on their shelf as far as like being able to pull facts and research from in order to garner support for preteen ministry.
Yep.
There's so much in there. It's like one of these books where you go to highlight the important things, and the whole page, every page, is highlighted yellow. So you've done such a great job, Janine, and it's a wake up call for the church. I can't wait for it to come out. I know you're just you're in the beginning stages of getting this book out to the world, but we're going to keep our eye open for it. And it's Janine McNally at graceforkids.org if you want more information. And thank you so much, Janine. This is today's great idea. It's Notice the Fireflies. So, do you have a question about preteen ministry or a unique preteen ministry idea that we can feature on our podcast? Send it to podcast@456.org. Want to get more great ideas right now? Come join the community of preteen leaders at 456.org.